I don't want you to die in my house." Those words, spoken by my own son, hit me like a knife plunged just under my ribs. Not deep enough to kill, but deep enough to steal my breath. I stood in his living room doorway, clutching an old shoebox of photographs I'd planned to give him for his 40th birthday. And he, my Michael, the boy I'd nursed, rocked through fevers, driven to baseball practice, and read Harry Potter to at bedtime, looked at me as if I'd brought contagion, not memories. I was 72. I'd lived alone since Harry, my husband, his father, passed 5 years ago. At first, it was fine. I cleaned, cooked, went to church on Sundays, chatted with my neighbor Marge on the phone. But then came the knee pain, the blood pressure spikes, the memory lapses. Not the dramatic kind from movies, where you forget your children's names. No. This was subtler, more sinister. I'd forget whether I'd turned off the stove. Mix up the days of the week. Once, I locked myself out and sat on the porch for 2 hours, bewildered why the door wouldn't open. Michael insisted I move in with him and his wife, Linda. "You can't manage alone, Mom," he said gently, but with that same quiet finality I remembered from childhood, when he decided what to do about our old poodle who could no longer walk. Back then, he'd said, "We need to take him to the vet." Same calm. Same certainty. I agreed. What else was there? I didn't want a nursing home. Didn't want to be a burden. I thought if I stayed quiet, invisible, if I washed dishes and kept out of their way, everything would be okay. The first few weeks passed in tense politeness. Linda cooked dinner. I washed the dishes. Michael left for work at 6 a.m. and returned at 7 p.m. Their kids, my grandchildren, Emily and Jake, visited on weekends. They kissed my cheek, asked how I was, but their eyes stayed glued to their phones. I tried not to take it personally. Times had changed. I understood that. But a home isn't just walls and a roof. It's rhythm. Theirs was fast, sharp, packed with schedules and obligations. Mine was slow, like the old cuckoo clock I'd brought with me and placed on the dresser in the guest room. Linda eyed it with disapproval, but said nothing until she did. "Mom, could you put those clocks away? They tick so loudly at night. We can't sleep." "I don't hear it," I said. "Well, we do." I tucked the clock into the closet. Then she asked me to keep my slippers out of the hallway. Then not to turn on the TV after 9. Then not to cook soups, they smelled too strong. I began to feel like a ghost in my own body. I ate in my room, walked in the mornings while everyone slept, tried not to breathe too loudly. Then came that morning. I woke early, as always. Made coffee. Poured a cup for myself, then one for Michael, the way I had for 30 years when he lived at home. I set it on the kitchen table beside his toaster. He walked in, saw the cup, frowned. "Mom, I've told you I only drink coffee from my thermos. And only with almond milk." "I'm sorry. I forgot." "You didn't forget. You just do things your way. Like always. I just wanted to help." Help is asking what's needed, not forcing your way. I stood silent by the stove, cheeks burning. I wanted to say, "I raised you alone while Harry was at war. I worked 2 jobs so you could go to college." But the words stuck in my throat. Because he wasn't a boy anymore. He was a man. And in his eyes, I wasn't his mother, I was a problem. That day, I found the photo box. I decided I'd give it to him for his birthday. Remind him who we were. Who he was. Who I'd been. Maybe it would bring something back. I knocked on his office door. He sat at his computer, screens filled with spreadsheets and reports. He didn't even look up. "Michael," I brought. "Mom, I'm working." "Later. It's important." "It's your birthday." I said later. I fell silent. Then softly, "I just wanted you to remember who you were." He looked at me then. Not with anger. with weary irritation. The kind of exhaustion you feel toward an inconvenience. "Mom," he said, "I don't want you to die in my house." I didn't understand at first. Then I did. "You want me to leave?" "I want you to be safe. Somewhere professionals can care for you. You say yourself you mix up the days. Forget the stove. Lose things." "But I'm not crazy." "No one said that. But you can't live alone. And here, you're disrupting things." "Disrupting?" "Yes. You're breaking our routine." Linda's stressed. "The kids don't know how to act around you. We're trying to be kind, but..." "But what?" "But you won't let us live." I left the room, sat on the edge of the bed in the guest room, stared out the window. Beyond it, their perfect garden, perfect shrubs, perfect trees, everything trimmed, everything in place. Like their lives. And I was the weed cracking through the sidewalk. The next day, I called Marge. "You were right," I said. "You can't expect your children to become your parents." "Oh, Barbara," she sighed. "They're not cruel. They're just busy. They think love is solving problems, not just being there." I didn't reply. A week later, I moved into a small senior living community in the suburbs. Not a nursing home. Just a place where I could live independently, with support nearby. I have a little apartment, flowers on the windowsill, neighbors who also know what it means to feel in the way. Michael calls every 2 weeks. Asks if I'm okay. I say yes. Sometimes he visits with the kids. They bring pie. I smile. Say thank you. But in Michael's eyes, relief. He's glad I'm fine. That he's done all he could. But the truth is, neither of us did enough. I didn't do enough to teach him that aging isn't a disease, that presence matters more than perfection. That love isn't just care, but patience. And he didn't do enough to see that my love, even clumsy, even intrusive, was all I had left. We both made mistakes. But the worst part? We both stayed silent until it was too late. Now I sit by the window watching the sunset. Sometimes I think I hear the ticking of that old clock. But maybe it's just my heart. Still beating. Even if no one hears it. Note to the listener. If you see your family in this story, you're not alone. Generational conflict, especially around aging, dependence, and loss of independence, is one of the most painful experiences families face. But it doesn't have to end in estrangement. Talk. Don't accuse.